Oh my gosh! I'm somewhere else. This isn't my place, and it looks like I'm still in Cleveland.
You are still in Cleveland. Yeah. Down the road a little bit.
I'm here with Jesse Anderson.
From Quackalope. A little bit more duck-based.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
So, Quackalope.
Yeah.
What a great... thank you so much for having me up.
Glad to have you. I'm excited about this.
What a great game space you have. This has been really interesting. I love this table.
This is a bandpass design with the topper on it. This table has enabled us to play campaign games.
Oh,
we have ISS Vanguard currently hidden underneath.
Okay.
So that we can break the
It's got
tabletop
the vault.
off.
Yeah.
We can break it off and we can sit down and we can film a campaign game and then we can do things like this without having to clean up, Frosthaven or ISS or any of these other ambitious games.
So, for you, gaming sort of started way back at a store called Labyrinth Games.
In part, yeah.
I
I grew up playing things like Catan over the holidays.
And Risk.
But Labyrinth Games was where I fell in love with D&D, and then bridged over into Kingdom Death Monster. And then, of course, I found all the other games in between. All the middle games.
So if you could go back in time and see yourself as you entered that Labyrinth Games looking for a D&D match. Okay. If you could go back in time and whisper in your ear and give you some advice for the future, what would it be?
Some advice for the future when I was going in.
Or just what would you tell yourself?
Start a YouTube channel around RPGs instead of board games? or hey, a year from now, world's gonna really change. I don't know, something like that. Because at the time I was a event photographer, I was a videographer. Board games was a hobby. It was a creative space.
Right.
And then between finding and falling in love with the D&D community, and then finding and falling in love with the board game community, I also went through various life changes. I had a 6-year-long relationship that came to an end. I moved 2 or 3 times within the next year and a half span, trying to adjust and accommodate to that.
So it was DC to Kentucky and then back here, right?
It was DC to Kentucky, and then it was Kentucky back to DC. Then the pandemic hit. It was back to Kentucky, and then it was up to Maryland, and then it was over to Cleveland.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, really a lot of moving around.
It has been a very busy season. This house, this studio, this last year of my life is probably the most stable that it's been in a while. Yeah.
What's it like to move with 500 board games?
So, the first few times I moved, I did not have that many board games.
Okay.
The first time I moved, I probably had most of the stuff I was moving was board games. But even then, it wasn't much. The biggest move would have been going from Kentucky, where the channel grew... Kentucky during the pandemic, where the channel grew from around 10,000 subscribers up to the 25,000 mark, up to Maryland, or from Maryland over to Cleveland. Maryland over to Cleveland was a night of frantic packing and about 50, 60 boxes from Lowe's full of board games. We basically moved only board games, and it was a truckload full of them. Which is a lot. We have too many titles. And now when we're looking at the space that we have now, we have 7 Calyxes full. We have a Calyx that is all for giveaways. We have 2 Calyxes that are our personal collection. We have 2 Calyxes that are dedicated to coverage, stuff that we need to work on. You can actually see them sitting right here. And then we have 2 more, and we have 2 more Calyxes. I think that hits 7. We have 2 more Calyxes that are games that are still in shrink that are for us to play, things that we just haven't had the time to get to. If I had to move again, I think I would likely cut our collection down to about 150 games, move with those, and then just start accumulating, because we have access to, we purchase so many, we get sent so many. It's very hard to keep up with the amount of board games that you could potentially try to play.
But at your core, you were a photographer. That's where you started. So my wife and I were photographers. We met in a photography studio in a dark room. By the way, really easy to pick up girls if you got a good voice in a dark room.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
But the
never used a dark room.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you ever shot film?
I've never shot film. It was the era of the digital world. The Canon Canon EOS to start with, and then merging over to Panasonic, which is what I use now.
Yeah. The Canon was my first digital camera, and I still use them today.
Okay. Yeah.
because I have all the lenses and they keep being reasonable. So, photography as a passion for you.
Yeah.
When did that start? Was that something you kind of always did? Like, were you running around as a little kid with a camera and stuff?
By the way, this is one of Wes introduced this to me. This is your Goose Island Bourbon County Stout. I hope you like a stout.
That is thick.
It is heavy. It's something like what I want to say like 14%, maybe a little bit lower. Thick, rich.
My goodness, I'm in flavor country right now.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the funny thing for me is that photography is always something that I've enjoyed, but it's never been a hobby, it's never been a passion, it's never been an artistic expression. Like a lot of people, I am very creative, I'm not very artistic. And I'll explain what that means. Like I'm good at coming up with ideas, I'm good at pursuing, I'm entrepreneurial in a very creative way, but I don't know how to take a bunch of things from my head and design something in front of me. I can look at a picture and I can draw that picture. Right?
Okay.
But I can't just imagine something and create something beautiful immediately in front of me. And so photography for me started in college, and it started as a contract. It started as someone who thought that I knew how to take photos. One of the departments at the school offered me a contract to take some photos for them, to do some work for them. So I looked up the price of a camera. I charged them the price that it cost to buy the camera. I purchased the camera. I did the work. And then I continued from there. I continued going out and I continued shooting. I continued doing photography. And that bridged over into the wedding space. That bridged over into the commercial space. And then bridged over into the event space in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I loved what I do. Like I took what I did very seriously. But kind of similar to board games, in photography, I cared much more about the portraiture and the people that I was interacting with than I ever really did the artistic expression of the images. And so weddings and events and stuff like that I was very good at, because most of those photos don't come through the camera. Most of those photos come from the photographer interacting with the bride and groom, or the photographer interacting with the groomsmen, knowing how to laugh and joke and pick just the right area and get them to stand so that the moment they burst out laughing, you're in a position to take a nice photo of them. It's really not the camera that's doing the work. And that's why, like, you can hand me an iPhone, you can hand someone else my $6,000 photography camera, and I will outshoot them with the iPhone. It's not the quality of the camera that you have. It's the way that you're interacting, the way that you're framing, the way that you're working with the subject.
You really have to find that photograph. Like I have a little practice that I do to keep sort of in practice or looking for that perfect shot. So every time I go to a restaurant, I take my iPhone, I switch it to square, and I switch it to Nora mode, so it's black and white. Yeah. And I take a picture, and I've got a Facebook album called Art in Restaurants. And every time I eat, I take an artistic photo of something there, and then I tag the restaurant.
One of my favorite things to do, or one of my favorite, I guess, thought experiments with photography to do, was to go to an event and ask myself the simple question: if I had 5 photos to tell a story of this place or of this thing, what 5 photos would those be? Imagine like a baseball stadium. Some people would walk in and they'd say, I've got 5 photos, great. Pitcher mound, batter, running around the track, maybe a coach, right? They're all focused at the field. Some other people might look around and they think, I've got 5 photos, great. Dad, sister, mother, family photo, popcorn. Right? Me as a photographer, someone that might be contracted or might be hired to create an album, hired to create something that captures that whole thing, you have to be able to look at every single one of those little things. So like the photography at a baseball stadium, the 5 photos you'd look for, that perfect grand slam, the slide to base, the coach screaming, the little girl with popcorn or peanuts sitting in front of her screaming with her dad like they're cheering, and then like a wide establishing stadium shot. It's all of those little components. So I like looking at an environment. Like right now, if you look around here, like what are the 5 things that would describe this? It's not 5 photos of us.
Right.
It might be 2 photos of us. We might still be the primary thing.
Or even a wide shot to kind of get the ambience.
But then you've got the cameras and the studio and the chaos on the shelves and the beer that we're drinking and like a zoom in here with like, the beer, the table, and the horn. Like that alone might be part of this story. And I like that type of approach to photography. It's storytelling. It really is.
So a couple of years ago, I watched an interview you did, I think, with Alex.
Okay.
and you were describing what it cost to be a full-time or to work in board games or gaming full-time. So, and you said it would cost you 40 hours a week for 5 years. And that was about 3.5 to 4 years ago.
So you're saying what I determined was the price I had to pay to get somewhere cool.
Yeah, that's the way you described it. You said the price I have to pay is to work really hard for 40 hours a week for 5 years or so. Or that was kind of a guess, I think, at that point.
I'd listened to a psychologist who was talking about figuring out like what you want to do with your life, where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be more successful? Do you want to have a career that you enjoy? Do you want to have a relationship that you're happy in? Like, what is it in your life that you want to design and build and take ownership of? And then all you have to do from that point is you have to determine what the price is to get there. If I want a relationship that is thriving and vibrant and happy, like there is a cost to that. That is paying attention to your spouse. That is maybe writing a letter every single week. That's going on dates purposefully. That's earning money and not spending it in a way that makes your household unstable. There's a cost to be paid. In the same way I was able to look at the board game space. And I said, if I want to do something in the board game space, I want this hobby to be a career, what is the price I have to pay for that to happen? And you're right, it was about 3 to 5 years. I said 5 years of working 40 hours a week or more, doing the best content I could. And at the end of that, I would end up somewhere really cool.
How do you feel like you're doing on your progress there?
It's funny. This question's funny because we are somewhere insanely cool, and yet the day to day, it is hard sometimes to see that. It's hard sometimes to rationalize and look back and say, no. From where we came to where we are now, we're doing amazing. Like, I'm so insanely grateful that I have an editor on employed. Shira can work with us full time. West is on the team. We have an incredible audience. We have more subscribers than I think I'd fully realize. Like, we have a voice in this board game space that is noticeable. Like, we have Quackalopes have become part of board games. Like, that's so cool to me. And yet, at the same time, I still have that bit of me that wants growth and wants success and wants to continue building. And so this has become our floor. And we're looking at the next thing, and we're like, how do we grow from here? Where do we build from here?
I think sometimes you get so much into the grind that you don't take the benchmark of kind of where you're at.
I should take more time to sit and reflect and look at what we have and where we are, and be grateful for that. And I am. I just sometimes when life is chaotic and life is busy, it's very easy to get distracted by the thing that you're trying to do next.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. So I've done a bit of self-employment and working from home and things like that too. And
I've not had a real job since I was 18.
Really? Lucky. So
I don't know about lucky. I've also slept in my car and moved quite a bit. So.
There's a struggle in there, but I think it always makes you all these little layers of things that you experience just build up to make you a stronger person, in my opinion. But what I'm wondering is, what do you have to accomplish in a day to feel like you've made progress? Like, how much do you put on yourself to accomplish every day?
In a day. I mean, the simple answer is, I personally feel like if I didn't spend about 14 to 15 hours of my day to some degree of productivity, which is not just work, that's also self-improvement, and sometimes purposeful relaxation. That counts. Going on a date, watching a movie with a couple, feel like bonding, like that counts as productivity. But if I don't spend 14 to 15 hours of my day purposeful and productive, I probably feel like I haven't made the most of the time that I was given. And that's hard because we have on our plate editing videos and posting videos, we have filming videos, we have hosting guests, but then on top of that, like, we have morning, afternoon, and evening davening, which is prayers in the Jewish community. We have, which, for those of you that don't know, morning, evening, and afternoon prayers, that's about 2.5 hours of your day dedicated to that, which is amazing, but it's a habit that I'm trying to build. We have trying to drink a gallon of water, trying to be healthier, trying to exercise a little bit to make. I'm heavier than I've ever been, which is a reflection of the stress that I put on myself, but it's also a reflection of me not prioritizing and cutting out that time that I need to take care of myself physically.
How old are you?
I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30 recently.
Just turned 30.
I look a lot older, but...
Well, I tell you what, take care of yourself now because it's so much easier than when you hit your 50s.
Hey, my dad's a big guy, and he was a skinnier guy than me when he was my age. And so it's one of those things where the stress of life caught up to him, and it's very hard for him to lose that weight now. And so for me, it's one of those things that's right now constantly on my mind. I don't want to go down that pathway. You're healthier, you're happier, your life is more fulfilling if you're able to maintain some degree of physical health as you age. So that doesn't mean that like my grandfather has, my grandmother is on point with his weight, like really, really manages it, right? And he's still got a little bit of roundness to him. That's part of aging. That's not the thing that I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding the discomfort and the medical consequences that come with really layering on health, which we have in my family. It's one of those things I can look towards the past generation and say, like, I could be that, and none of them would want that for me.
I love the video you did with your grandfather where you're making the wingspan box and stuff.
He's doing well, by the way.
Is he?
He's one of the reasons why we stopped some of that series was he's been going through prostate cancer. A lot of older guys go through that. It's a very common thing. One of those things that I think I'm going to have to get checked when I'm younger, because
they say any man that lives long enough will eventually have a problem with it.
And so I have an uncle that had some issues when he was very young. My grandfather's had issues, so it's in my family, not only in the male gene, but it's in my family as well.
Yeah.
But he's the last checkup that they had. Praise God, he was clear of any new growth. He didn't have to go through another radiation sequence.
Oh, excellent!
And so he's doing very well. My grandfather's been, a cornerstone of my life.
My grandfather built wooden toys and had a whole wooden workshop and stuff like that. So I kept. I think I discovered your channel during the Wingspan game when I was about to back Wingspan.
Okay.
And I watched you and Jan, perhaps?
Probably Jan, yeah.
Yeah, playing that. And I thought that was really fascinating. And what's funny is the more I've learned about you, like as I uncover more and more things about you, like your grandfather and the fact that you did event photography. My wife and I met doing photography, and I shot so many parties and weddings and events that I still don't know what to do with myself if I go to one and I'm not photographing it.
I have never been a guest at a wedding.
Really?
Never been a guest. I have been to hundreds of weddings. I have never been a guest at a wedding. Even my sister's wedding, she was just going to have a friend take the photos. And so, and this is the only time, I also haven't been invited to a lot of weddings, but even my sister's wedding, she was going to have someone take photos. And I was like, I want to, Nicole, I just want to be a guest. Just let me come be with family. And then she was just going to have someone else do it. And I was like, I'll do it. Fine. If you're not going to have a professional, I'll come do it. But Shira's family down in Miami, they throw a lot of events. They throw, bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and no weddings. They're all married at the moment. But, big family gatherings. And for the first time, I have these situations where I am a guest in this environment. It's very weird. It's very odd to not have a camera in your hand, to not be floating around and not be telling people to smile and not grabbing the attention and orchestrating this whole thing. It's kind of nice, but it is very weird. It is very weird.
It's strange as a photographer too, because you're involved and yet you're sort of not. You're kind of fly on the wall, you're also...
I always said, as a photographer, I was both the most expensive guest of the party, and also, really, because you're treated as... At a wedding, I spend more time with the bride and groom than they spend with each other.
I guess so. Yeah, because there's usually separation.
But then on top of that, you're right. As a photographer, I get to watch. Get to stand in the corner, and your job is just to observe what's happening. There's a kind of comfort in that, right? Mm-hmm. You get to be in this weird, crazy, chaotic environment, but you're never the center of it. And I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I still feel awkward. Like, it's funny. I'm not great at parties. Like, I can have fun, and I'm a fun guy and stuff. But it was always so much easier, especially work events where you kind of had to be on your toes. Mm-hmm. It was so much easier just to be there to take photographs and wander around and stuff, and not really have to interact.
I like having a role. That's the only time. I'm not good if I don't feel like I have a place in whatever the puzzle is.
Yeah.
So, for instance, at Quackalope events or at conventions or anything like that, I have a piece that I can be. I'm not a photographer anymore, but I am a duck.
Right.
And so I can greet people, I can talk with people, I can walk around and do business, I can talk with fans or other content creators, and that gives me a role or a thing that I know how to operate within. But if you just send me to a convention without any of the overhead, without being a photographer, without being a content creator, it's very stressful. It's very overwhelming. I don't quite know how I fit into that puzzle piece, and that freaks me out a bit.
So, as a photographer and an artist of sorts, I know you're very visually oriented. Mm-hmm. Do you ever see a board game and just kind of instantly feel like see it set up on the table, like a photograph or in front of you, and then think, oh, that's one I'll probably like?
I back more board games off of the cover art than I do any other element of the game.
Really? Mm-hmm. Just the front cover?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I love storytelling and I love artwork because it lets me visualize and see. And my theory is, if someone's cared enough about their game to invest in glorious artwork and the graphic design and the layout and the theming of it fits me, then they've cared enough about the mechanics and everything to play test it and get it to be a good game as it is. Like, I don't need to worry about that. What I care about is just how pretty it is, which isn't always true, but mechanics also aren't always true. So for me, it's a pretty solid litmus test.
Is there a genre that you like more? Are you a sci-fi guy or fantasy?
So there's two genres that I would go for. Kingdom Death, of course, the game that I entered the hobby in, is a dystopian, like, nightmare, a boutique nightmare horror, right? A lot of body gore, right?
Boobs and death.
It can be summed up as boobs and death. Now, granted, I would rather have the grotesque, more visceral stuff than the boobs. Like,
right.
Personally, I would rather, especially as I'm in more and more of a serious relationship, and I'm moving more and more towards an older version of myself.
Sure.
I do wish there was less maybe graphic. Physical exposure.
Okay.
However, I don't mind an arm being ripped off or a head being torn off or anything visceral in that sense. But I love the Kingdom Death style. I like things that give me a nightmare horror atmosphere, a nightmare horror theme. And then the other thing for me, like Tainted Grail would be an example of that, which doesn't have the boobs.
Right.
Tainted Grail is this dark, dystopian, weird, smoke and fog coming in, screaming mountains, like distorting your mind.
That's the Arthurian legend stuff, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so that or Aeon's Trespass Odyssey has that dark, grim, that type of environment. And then adjacent to that, I grew up reading a book series called Redwall by Brian Jockus. And that book series was based around the idea of these little forest creatures, these little mice and badgers and other woodland mammals thriving in their own environment. They're warriors and they're princes and they're kings and they have their own tribes and they cook their own breakfasts and they have castles that exist. And so that environment is something that I'm always drawn to. So we're talking Everdell, we're talking Root. If you give me cute forest creatures and artwork that looks great, I'm in.
So I was curious about your shrink wrap thing. I was going to ask you if you still do that, but I had a chance to kind of look around and I see that it's still happening.
Okay, so first off, I want to know why you're curious about it.
Well, because for me, when I buy a game, it's sort of a ritual to pull it out, and then I punch it all and I organize it. Like, I organize it right away, and then maybe I'll play it a month from now or a week from now.
How much time does it take you to organize it?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it depends on how big the game is, right? But
sure.
On average, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, okay. First off, what do you know about my shrink wrap thing? You said I have a shrink that thing. Do you want to describe what that is? What your understanding is?
You keep the way I understand it. You buy your game and you keep it in shrink until it's time to play it.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And I always wondered if that was like, well, maybe I'll sell it and it's worth more when it's sealed up.
It's not a selling thing. It's not a liquidating selling thing. Like, it doesn't hurt, right? If you move on from a game, it doesn't hurt to have it still in shrink. It comes down to two things for me. Maybe three things for me. So the first thing is, I don't... I don't have the time to just open it up and punch everything and get it organized. So that's part of it. It takes time to do that. And the amount of games we have coming through the studio, it's overwhelming. I don't have the time to play it, let alone punch it. I've had games in my collection from the moment I got into board games, still in shrink.
Wow, really?
I have games that are about 4 years old that are still in shrink. Because the reality is, I've never played them. Huh. Like City of Kings. I bought that at retail before ever starting Quackalope, excited to feature it on the channel, and then carried it with me over 5 moves, still in shrink. I just recently got rid of it. Like, I don't have the time or the capacity, and so it doesn't make sense for me to open up a game if I know that I'm not going to be able to get to it. And right now, most of the stuff we have, we're not going to be able to get to. On top of that, most of the games in my permanent collection that are in shrink, which are the 2 Calyxes downstairs, most of those games I have played. The reason being is I played them with a friend, I purchased them because I like them that much, and I want them in my permanent collection, but why would I open my own copy of a game until I'm ready to play it? It gets things lost, it gets things disorganized, it messes up the tiles and the cards. Like, keep it packaged fresh, keep it sealed, stick it on the shelf, and then the moment you're ready to play, rip it open. I have no problem ripping it open. If I'm getting it to the table that day or that week, no problem ripping off the shrink. But if I know it might be a year or two before I open it and play it, I don't want to, like, have my box lid loose or have to deal with, you know, a dice tower that I built or anything that's floating. I don't have to deal with any of that. The problem that I run into is if I have little, like, floating expansions, those become very annoying. Oh, yeah. Because I want them in the box, but I don't want the shrink off. I need to buy a shrinker is what I need to do so I can re-shrink my games. And then the last thing for me, it doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with the fact that I run a YouTube channel, though. Not only do we get too many games, but also there's oftentimes a strong chance that a month later, or a year and a half later, or 7 years later, it's fun to do an unboxing. Yeah. And so if you have a game that's old or rare or unique or no one's talking about, like I've got a copy of Claustrophobia downstairs. Oh. One of those, the Claustrophobia 1692 or something like that. Yeah. I played the original game, love the original game. I've got a copy of the reprint, and everyone has already opened their reprint. I haven't. I haven't played my reprint since it came in. Honestly, I watched some Sam Healy Dice Tower coverage. I think it was Sam Healy, and it might have been Z. And it discouraged me from being excited about it. Oh, yeah. Because I already had a copy of the original. So it's just existed. It's just hanging out down there. At one point in the future, I will probably do a fun unboxing of it. And I'll be the only person in 2 years who's had a copy to open up and hasn't had a copy to be excited about. Honestly, I would like to do that more. Like, if we had more space, I would probably back games just for the purpose. I'd probably back 2 copies of multiple games. Just for the sake of having a copy 5 years or 2 years later to unbox, right? Because, like, how cool is it to open up, Rising Sun 5 years after it existed? Oh, wow, yeah. No one has that anymore. No one gets that experience. We have more people that are paying attention. And also, I would back 2 copies of the game because I'd have one for me, and then I'd have one to do a giveaway. Like, I love just giving stuff to the community. And so, why not just have a whole wall of stuff to, to open and give away? I understand why people open their games. It's fun, it's exciting, they're excited about the new game they just got in, they want to organize it and have it ready to play, ready to table. I don't think most people should leave things in shrink. I think both because of the channel that we have and also just my personality. I left things in shrink before I started Quackalope.
I think it's a very pleasant quirk.
Yeah, maybe.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. What I'm always worried about is if I showed up to play a game and it was still in shrink, it would indicate to my friends that I had no idea how to play the game.
So, that's another version of how I actually host, though. I have been taught more of the games that I cover on my channel than I have learned myself.
Oh, that's so much better.
I don't actually, I'm not very good at learning board games. Yeah. And I don't care, honestly. I like getting things right. I like having rules correct. I prefer that. But starting this channel has indicated to me that I might have never played a game right. It is so hard to play a ton of these, especially midweight to heavy games, and get every single nuanced detail correct as you're playing. The object of game is to tell a story and have fun with the people that are around the table.
Right.
If I've done that, then I've accomplished the goal of the game. It doesn't matter what we've played. And so, most of the time, when I'm playing games with friends, they are actually the ones hosting. They're actually the ones that are controlling the game we're playing. And I'm just happy to be there. And so, for the games I have in my collection that are in shrink, Chinatown's a good example. That's a game that was in one of my friend's permanent collections. We went over, played it with him, loved the game, bought it immediately. And then I've had a copy in shrink for two plus years. Until I had the right game group and I had the right people over at my own house, and I opened it up and I ran it. I knew the game, though. I was ready to play it. I'd played it before. It didn't need to open up until it was time.
Are you anywhere close to game overload at this point? I mean,
well beyond it.
I mean, anytime you do something you love for an income, for a living and stuff, it's easy to sort of get a little bit...
It's not the income thing. I love playing games on camera more than I like playing them off camera.
Really?
Forces everyone to be involved. You sit 4 people around a table and they know the cameras are on and there's bright light shining in their face. You have this environment where everyone is focused on their turn, everyone is talking about the game, everyone is trying to have fun and laugh and play. And so you just get this dynamic that you don't get when you're sitting around a game room unless you have a really good game. Around the game room with the right game, like Twilight Imperium or Feast for Odin would be some examples of games that have given me that. But it's rare that you have this immersive, contained experience, if that makes sense. That's my phone vibrating.
I'm sorry. I was making sure it wasn't mine.
But it's mine. So I like playing games on camera more than I like playing them off. In terms of game overload, though, I love discovering the stuff that's new in the hobby. I love playing prototypes. I love playing amazing, new, inventive games. The problem I have is I have a personal collection. Between Sheer and I, we have a personal collection of something like 200, 250 games. And the rate at which we ever play our own personal collection has dropped to probably a 5%. We almost never touch the games that are our favorite.
Your core favorite games.
We're always playing the games that are new. And the games that are new are amazing. And I love discovering them. Part of me selfishly wishes I had that window of time to sit and dive into games that I already know I like. That's hard. You have a decision between something that is with a publisher that you love to work with, something that is a prototype that is brand new and looks really cool, something that you think your audience will love, and then just selfishly something you really enjoy.
Right.
And oftentimes it has to be one of those few categories. A publisher we love working with, Ivy Studios, and something we really enjoy. Great. Mythic Mischief, get to the table all the time. A brand new title that we're really excited about, and a publisher we like working with. Great. Those two, good excuse to dive into a game, right? No income related. Or if a publisher's sponsoring a video, we've got money tied to it, fantastic. That's a good reason. But, it takes you away from that one solo game that's off there in the corner that you just love. But no one wants to watch. The audience doesn't care about. It's not brand new on Kickstarter. It's not from a publisher. It's from Fantasy Flight, who could care less to talk with opinions like me. It's one of those things. So
how have you found navigating YouTube? When you started making board games and stuff, or board game content, did you have an angle that you went for to try to be a little bit different?
So I love YouTube. I wanted to start a YouTube channel since I was in college.
Right.
I have videos of me way back in the day trying to do some type of YouTube video. And back then it was me imitating or mimicking Zay Frank, that type of thing. Who's the grandfather of YouTube. I don't know if you know.
Oh, I know
Zay.
Zay.
It's he moved on to run BuzzFeed and all that. And so board games have been an amazing place to be a YouTuber and also a very frustrating place to be a YouTuber. And I'll try to explain why. In board games, we were able to cut out and define our niche very, very quickly and very, very well. We've got 2 channels. One channel, which is the main Quackalope channel, has always advocated for 2 things above anything else. We want to feel like you are sitting around a table and having fun with us, right? And a lot of people say that they relate with us on a very personal level. They relate when they sit down and they watch a game that we're playing. Doesn't matter what nuance we're doing. We're focused on having fun above anything else. And then on top of that, or alongside that, because I have a background in photo and video, I've always tried to make my videos that little bit higher production quality than anyone else in the industry. Now, there are people that do better quality videos than me, but I don't know of many people who put out the amount of videos we do, at the quality that we put them out, at the persistence or consistency or anything like that. There are people that do better videos by far, and there's bigger people that do worse videos. I think we've struck a very nice chord in being very personable, having a lot of fun with the stuff that we create, and also trying to make them very, very watchable. Because I started the channel on the back of watching all of Shut Up and Sit Down stuff, and then running out of board game content to watch and saying, great, I'll go make it myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't enjoy other stuff. And then the secondary channel that we have is 10 minutes or less. Guaranteed every time, always. Because short form content's hard to come by. Like, my channel has 5-hour-long gameplay videos.
It is really hard sometimes to describe something and keep it in that short time period.
And so I've loved being a YouTuber. I've loved being a YouTuber in the board game space. At the same time, we're now at a point with our channel where we are growing at the same pace that everyone else is. Shut Up Sit Down grows at about 2,000 subscribers a month. Dice Tower grows at about 1,000 subscribers a month. Watch It Played with Rodney Smith is like 1,500, sometimes a little bit more than that. So the biggest people in our industry, where everyone comes into the board game space on YouTube through, are growing at between 1,000 and 2,000 subscribers a month on average. Quackalope is growing at like 700 to 1,200. So we're about half of where the biggest in the industry are. But people don't find us first. And so we're at a position now where the idea of getting to 100,000 subscribers, we're almost at 50. We'll hit 50 this year. But the idea of getting to 100,000 subscribers, we don't know how to do that. Because the biggest in our industry, the people that are ahead of us on this pathway, the people where everyone comes through, every single board gamer finds Shut Up and Sit Down when they start searching for board games on YouTube. And oftentimes subscribes to them because they're amazing. If their cap is 2,000 subscribers a month, what is our cap? It's a hard spot to be. Yeah. It's a very frustrating spot to be because we have to, if we want to grow and we want to build a channel that goes beyond just the board game space, we now have to identify and define and cut our own path through a new audience. Whereas in D&D or RPGs or video games, the answer to a lot of those questions would be, well, there's a giant audience that you haven't tapped. Or the answer to those questions would be collaborations or networking or doing the right type of content. The Minecraft world has 37 million people that are watching it. The board game space doesn't. When we have videos that go live that can beat Dice Tower's views, that means we're competing for the same eyes.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of other people out there watching. It doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for where we are, but as a YouTuber, as someone who outside of board games has been a fan of this platform, I want to hit 100,000.
Yeah.
I want to see growth. I want
that play button.
Yeah, I like that's one of those things I've dreamed of before I loved board games. And I just don't know, under our current industry, without us somehow cutting a new path, I don't know that our channel gets there soon. And that's it's a pill you have to swallow.
That's the grind. So, yeah, but YouTube's also on top of being a voice amongst many, many voices. YouTube has all sorts of little nuanced things that you have hoops to jump through to kind of get those extra views, like the shorts. But they really want you to do shorts.
I should have done TikTok. I was watching Gary Vee. I experiment. I was probably one of the first board gamers to experiment with TikTok videos. I just hate the platform.
I do too.
I cannot do the platform. And the reaon why I hate it is because I sit there and I scroll. I will post one short video for Quackalope and I will scroll for an hour. It's designed, psychologically it's designed to hook you.
Yes.
And like I was telling you earlier, I don't have social media on my phone. I don't have Instagram on my phone. Quackalope doesn't have a Twitter account. I don't have the YouTube app on my phone. I don't have browsing on my phone. Like, I have just detached myself from the world of social media as much as possible. The way I watch YouTube is I have a tab downstairs I can show you. I log in, I'm getting work done, I'm getting editing done, I'm doing something productive, and I will look at the recommendations and I'll look at my subscriber feed, and I will just new tab like 7 or 8 videos. all of which that I think are valuable or videos that I really want to watch. And I'll prioritize watching them. And I can show you the tab. Like I've got like 4 or 5 rabbis there. I've got a Wormwood video. I've got some board game content. But all of those are things that like throughout the next few days, I'll go through and I'll watch those. I'll watch them while I'm editing. I'll watch them while I'm working on thumbnails and other things. But the actual flow of social media, I have tried to remove myself from. And so TikTok's one of those platforms that just is psychologically designed to hook you and to not let you go.
Yeah.
And I just can't create content in an environment that I can't break away from. I'm not able to. I'm not like, it would be bad for my mental health to make TikTok videos.
So you're not obsessing in YouTube Studio over your numbers?
I used to. That's why I deleted it. I deleted YouTube Studio from my phone.
It's kind of unhealthy.
I spent the first 3.5 years of my channel watching every single tick up and every single tick down. I think I saw between 0 and 40,000 subscribers. I believe I saw that number tick up every single time it did. Every 15 minutes I'd sit there and I'd double check. And if it went down by 2, my next 30 minutes would be ruined. If someone left a comment, I read every comment. If someone left a comment being a jerk or call like it just doesn't know me. Like I don't know who they are, and they have no idea who I am. But if they leave a comment, I give them ownership over the rest of my day, and I sit there and I ruminate. Like I can still recall in my mind like negative comments people have made about me on social media.
Oh yeah.
Because that's how that's how human psychology works. But the positive comments, you wipe them free, right? You don't believe them or you set them to the side. And so I don't have YouTube Studio. I removed YouTube Studio. I wake up in the morning, or we spend a Shabbat, 25 hours offline, and I check Sunday midday, and I scroll, and I'm up 50 subscribers. That's awesome. That's a good feeling. We don't drop in numbers anymore. When I used to scroll, we drop by 1, and I'd be like, why? Why did that person leave? What happened?
Yeah, or you wonder if it's just robots being cleaned off of the system.
And that happens as well.
The whole platform's plagued with all sorts of AIs and little entities that are not people.
And so there's a lot of stuff that I should do. There's a lot of social media that I should be involved in. We have some team members that are working on some of those elements, but
well, if you're lucky enough to have a team, why burden your mind with that?
That's sort of the thought.
Yeah.
It's sort of the goal. And I think I can be a better creator if I'm not awkwardly placating to, what social media is demanding.
It's tough. There's a real negativity bias is a real thing. And I've discovered...
you should title this video, Confronting Quackalope or The Problem with Quackalope. You should. You really, to get the most views possible on this video, you should title it something that is swung towards the negative or swung towards the clickbaity, right? That is how the YouTube system works. If you title this just, I had a pleasant conversation with Quackalope, no one's going to watch.
Oh, we need to make a good thumbnail then.
No, I mean, you really...
Why don't you look kind of awkward? You look kind of look down a little bit, and I'm going to be like, there's our thumbnail. And
you really, I mean this. Take that thumbnail and title this Confronting Quackalope or something like that. It's just how YouTube works. People don't get as well. In the board game space, I'm not competing with other board gamers. Every board game YouTube channel is just trying to talk about a hobby that I love as well. They're trying to grow our platform. I am competing with every single other YouTube channel on the YouTube platform. I'm just competing for the homepage. I'm competing for the recommended. Yeah. I'm competing for the subscriber feed. So my thumbnail, my title, the design of all of it, if my audience scrolls past it because Mr. Beast just posted a video above me, I lose that view.
Yeah. How far along were you in making videos before you felt comfortable approaching publishers and talking to them about collaborations?
About contracts specifically, or about?
I don't know. I don't know what the progression is.
So it's an odd thing, and we were thrust into it in a weird way. One, I have a commercial videography and photography background.
Okay.
So the value on what I'm producing, I understand in a way that many content creators don't. I have come from an industry where I charge people to make products or to make marketing videos or to do things like that. But then alongside that, we also had the unfortunate situation where COVID happened and my career ended on the back of trying to do this YouTube channel.
Right.
And so...
No events, no event photography.
And so I lost like $30,000 in a month.
Yeah.
Just every single event dropped out from under me. So that's the point. We're right around 10,000 subscribers. We're a little bit less than that. That's the point when I not only opened a Patreon and asked my audience for help, but I also started accepting contracts and doing contract work with publishers. If I had had my choice, I would have preferred, and I still prefer to this day, to be as distant from publishers as possible. I don't know, and I don't think there's a pathway to do that in our industry. No one above me, no channel above me has proven that you can. I thought Board Game Co. would be the first one to prove that you could be independent from publishers entirely, and you can't. He works for GameFound. Like, it's, you know, and it's not that he's biased. It's not that his coverage is any different, but it's like you have to have a relationship with some degree of this industry to survive as a channel. Whereas in the video game space, I get advertised for, you know, Mustaches Unlimited, and they care about the amount of eyes that I have. They don't care about the audience or the people that are buying the product. Like, you could
it's all numbers and analytics.
It's all numbers, and YouTube's paying back royalties off the kickback in the eyes. You know, Dice Tower has their Kickstarter, but that only raises some small portion of what they actually need to run. They also have sponsorships through various different publishers. They have yearly sponsorships. They have promo cards that are in their Kickstarter package. You might say Shut Up Is It Down is independent, and I would argue that they are to some degree, but not all their people actually work in the board game industry. Many of them have outside other YouTube channels that they generate revenue from, or other careers they generate revenue from.
Yeah.
They also run things like their convention, where publishers are actually sponsoring and buying into the booth space that they have. And so you look at every single channel above me or right next to me, and there's no good answer to being in this industry and working full-time in this industry without having some type of commercial relationship with publishers. So, getting back to your question, though, at one point did that conversation start? It started right around 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Right around where the pandemic changed my life, right? Changed many people's lives.
Your
but
focus.
It shifted from events supporting the Quackalope hobby to Quackalope being the only potential revenue and income I had. And on the back of that, I left my apartment in Washington, D.C., moved back to a bedroom where I slept on a pull-out couch and filmed in the bedroom space that I had at my dad's house. We spent a year not making enough to survive, just trying to build something throughout the pandemic.
Wow.
And so that's where a lot of that conversation started. As far as where we are now, we have a lot of publishers we work with. We're very grateful for that. I would also selfishly love to get to a point where we don't have to have that. My dream for Quackalope would be have something go viral, or have something, or have, a single Patreon member that's rich enough in the seams.
The angel backer.
Yeah, that frees us from any obligation period. And I would do that in a heartbeat. I just don't see a pathway towards that.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, Jesse, I've enjoyed your content quite a bit throughout the years. It really helped me a little bit in the pandemic, keeping me busy. I've listened to you quite a lot as I paint my miniatures and I do all the things that I do.
So I've got a question for you. How different is my content versus sitting here, with West and with me and stuff like that? What have you noticed? Because you've been on camera with me now. We've sat a little bit. We've talked. You've met West a bit. And then you've watched me for a period of time.
Oh, I've watched you for I feel like quite a few years. I don't know when Windward was, but that was a while ago.
Sure. I mean, you're talking 2.5 years ago. So what's the?
I keep having to remind myself that I'm not watching TV. Because I've had you on so much. What I do is I listen to a lot of videos. Your videos and Alex in particular, because he doesn't do a lot of B-roll, so he's not super visual oriented. But it's been really unusual all weekend having conversations and stuff, because I feel like I'm I've gone through my phone, or my television, and now I'm here in real life. But I feel like you are exactly the same person that I imagined I didn't know if I'd meet you and maybe you'd be I've met a lot of chaos. Well, I've met a lot of people from YouTube that I've watched, especially with aquariums and stuff like that. And every now and then you meet someone and they're just not that person. Do you find that's more often or less often? A lot.
Really?
That happens a lot.
Okay.
Where they've got an online persona, and you turn on the camera, and they're all peaches and cream.
Sure.
And then you turn the camera off, and they're freaking nightmares.
So you're saying I'm not terrible off camera?
No, you're really nice. What a nice fellow. I am
did
super.
pay him to say that.
Yeah.
Really profitable.
Jesse, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And folks, if you like this video, be sure to click like. If you'd like to subscribe, we'd love to see you again. Until next time, enjoy your games, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.